Absolutely, Major General Sehgal, and even the Americans are echoing the sentiment when it comes to Trump. Now, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz says he and PM Benjamin Netanyahu have ordered the military to accelerate the demolitions of Lebanese homes in frontline villages to end threats to Israeli communities. The military was also instructed to immediately destroy all bridges over Lebanon's Liani River, which he said were used for terrorist activity, according to a statement released by Katz's office. Another development, Major General Sehgal, what do you have to say for this?
Israel must not forget the lesson that it had learned in the past. If you remember early 80s and early 90s and late 80s, Israel had occupied Lebanon for almost 16 years. And there were books written by saying that Israel's longest war. Israel lost not many more people during that 16 years that they stayed on, and because they were being inflicted, guerrilla warfare had started, and every day Israel was suffering 1 or 2 or 3 losses which they can ill afford. And should they now repeat that experiment, both in West Bank as well as Syria, Golan Heights area, as well as Jerusalem, there will be skirmishes against them on a daily basis. And their resources will be dissipated all across. Their resources will be tied up with Gaza, they'll be tied up in Lebanon, there'll be the attacks by Houthis, and there'll be attacks on them by the Quds as well as by the Hezbollah as well as in the West Jerusalem area. Under the circumstances, as a military person, I would say I would like to concentrate my forces to ensure that nobody has the courage to do damage to me. But if you dissipate your assets all over like this, you making yourself weak everywhere. And this is something that will be exploited by the adversaries, who would now be far more dangerous than ever before. Back to you.
All right, I'll come back to you, Major General Sehgal. Now, Iranian Deputy Defense Minister Reza Tlaibek has delivered a defiant message on the state of the war in response to a U.S. assessment that Iran's military capability has been degraded. In remarks carried by Iranian media, Tlaibek said continued attacks against countries in the region show that Iranian forces can rely on strategic reserves and domestic production. He claimed that 2 decades of investments in weapons production, especially of missiles and drones, allow the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps to strike targets with precision and effectiveness. Tlaibek said the IRGC's missile strikes drones and naval units using cruise missiles from the coast, ships and the hinterland indicated an increase in the accuracy of hits compared with the initial weeks of the war. Concerning the Strait of Hormuz, he said Iranian armed forces de facto control and define the security of the waterway through which 20% of global oil and liquefied natural gas supplies pass. Now, Oman says a group of its citizens has returned home safely from Iran as repatriation efforts continue. In a statement reported by the Oman news agency, the foreign ministry said the evacuation was carried out via land and air routes coordinated through diplomatic missions in Tehran and Ankara. It added that monitoring of Omani citizens abroad is continuing around the clock to ensure their safety and security. Major General P.K. Sehgal, I was reading about Iran, which has constructed extensive underground missile sites deep within its mountainous region. And these facilities are large-scale labyrinth tunnel networks spread across the country. If you could tell our viewers a little bit about this.
Firstly, Iran is a country which has got deserts and it's got mountains as high as 14,000 feet. And all along the coastal area, there are high mountains. And Iranians have constructed all their these cities of theirs, which are missile cities and kamikaze cities, underground, under the mountains. Even their nuclear establishments or nuclear installations are all under the mountains. Even their bunkers are under the mountains, which are very, very difficult for bunker buster bombs to even destroy them. Even if you remember, in the 9 days war that took place, or the 12 days war that took place in the month of June, American and Israelis had bombed out using their heavy bombers, but they were not able to reach any of the installations. Possibly they were able to only somehow they damage their entries and exit points, which in any case the Iranians themselves thereafter closed to make sure that the uranium, enriched uranium, cannot under any circumstances be stolen by the Americans or the Israelis. The topography does not favor an attacker in case they want to carry out any ground invasion. As far as ground invasion is concerned, Israel is 2,000 kilometers away. It has no contiguous borders, and no Arabian nation would allow, or a Muslim nation or Gulf countries would allow Israelis to bring in troops there. And Israel would lack logistic support. Hence, any ground operation by Israelis is an impossibility other than a surgical strike, which again in a battle mode is almost going to be very, very difficult to implement and would cause huge attrition and casualties to Israelis. As far as the Americans are concerned, even Americans, the only way that Americans can possibly push some ground troops is through a 600 kilometer or 900 kilometer open border with Pakistan. But would Pakistan people agree to positioning of American troops? As it is, Pakistani people are totally against the idea of Asif Munir having gone and opened a bag in front of them and saying that आइए हमारे यहाँ rare earth हैं, invest, etc. They are being invited. The Chinese were invited against the wishes of the people of Pakistan, and they will under no circumstances allow Americans to use their bases or use their country for carrying out an attack on Iran. Under these circumstances, I don't think, because the topography is absolutely against the Americans. Desert terrain is very hostile, and the mountains are equally hostile. So how will their ground operation be launched, and from where it will be launched?
Major General Sehgal, I really appreciate your comprehensive view of the war. Thank you so much for joining me, and as always, it's been a pleasure talking to you. And with that, viewers, it's time for a short commercial break. There's a lot more coming up on the other side. Stay with us.